Leadership TV for God and country.
Good day and welcome to the studio of Edo State 2024. My name is Bimodal, and as you can see, I have leadership analysts with me in the studio to analyze the ongoing Edo governorship election taking place this Saturday, 24 September 2024. And of course, an election where we have 70 political candidates vying for that number one seat at Osadebe House. And we have 2.2 million accredited voters going to decide who becomes their governor today, Saturday. Meanwhile, my guests in the studio are leadership's in-house analysts. I have on my right the group political editor, Chibuzo Ukaibe.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
And I have on my left James Quinn. James is also National Assembly correspondent. James, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Yes, Edo decides what is happening. Now, we want to share more light on the arrival of personnel and materials. First and foremost, we want to find out because by Thursday, there were reports that the NAP actually conveyed sensitive materials to Edo State. And by Friday, that was yesterday, the materials were already left the CBN where it was housed to various INEC offices. So what do we have today? What about the arrival of personnel and materials? Was it timely? Because there were reports that some polling units were yet to receive some of these materials.
Yes, thank you very much. I think from information we're getting on the ground from our correspondents there, it appears as if the deployment of INEC materials has been a mixed bag of sorts, such that in some areas there seem to be early arrivals, and some other areas, they appear to be delayed, in the arrival as of the time, the polling units are supposed to open. I think which is by 8 o'clock. But as we speak, it does appear as if some, for instance, in Oredo, we understand that there was a slow deployment
but although, if I may just chip in, although is in Benin City, happens to be the central area. How come? Because it's also the easiest place to reach in terms of accessibility. How come there was delay? And don't forget that Oredo to just few meters away from Osadebe.
Yes, it's really curious as to why that would happen. We'll wait for the INEC to really give us a clear explanation as to why that kind of logistic problem that occurred. But what we also have is that there are rainfalls going on. The rainfall is going on, and so probably that would have affected movement and deployment of, because these are very sensitive materials. At the risk of giving explanation for INEC now, but let's keep our fingers crossed and believe that the INEC will come and give explanations as to why this has happened. But in Central, Edo Central, there are also reports of
where the two leading candidates of APC and the state's ruling party PDP are from.
Exactly.
Central.
And that is where it's a bit funny too, because at risk of not realizing it, we have a situation where the APC candidate appears to have voted and moved on, whereas the PDP candidate, Godfatherism, is still battling to get exercise his own franchise, as it were. The last time we understand that he was complaining about the delay and some other logistic problems, and urging INEC to hasten up and give more time for that to happen. So it reflects perhaps the logistics challenge that they're experiencing. But again, I also understand that there was a bit of rainfall. There was rainfall too in that area. So perhaps there is this thing about the rains that has, in some way affected, probably affected the way the deployment of materials have gone. But there's also in Edo North, we understand that materials were, I think fairly better distributed.
That is why I wonder, because Oredo, as it were, is Benin City, is inside Benin City, and Benin City is the state's capital. A situation whereby if materials are not, readily distributed in the state capital. Yet we have situation whereby these materials are distributed so early on in Edo North is a cause for concern. Now moving on to James. James, we want to find out these materials because there are some reports that some of these beavers, they are slow, they are not performing. How true is that? Ultimately.
Okay, of course there are reports.
And you also talk about turnout of voters because just like what Chibuzo said, that there has been rainfall in Oredo.
Okay, the turnout of voters. Okay, let me start from the beavers.
Beavers, yeah.
You know, the reports that we have been getting so far from the various polling units visited by our correspondents and the general report out there is that the beavers, to a large extent, have been working well.
Okay.
What we have so far, reports available is that there are cases or instances in certain polling units where the beavers is slow, and by the beavers being slow, it is already slowing down the accreditation and voting process, because based on the guidelines or based on the timeline, accreditation and voting commences at 8:30 a.m. to close, I think, 2:30 p.m.
Yes.
So that is that on the issue of beavers. But so far, there were yet to establish reports of total failure or the beaver or
and
the
also,
beaver.
James, there are also reports that some of these INEC materials where they are distributed are not complete. Talking about one scenario whereby there was no result sheet among those ones, and the people demanding that there must be result sheet.
Well, that is actually curious because in the course of distribution of materials, materials have to be complete before they're taken. It's also curious how the voters started demanding for result sheets just at the beginning of the
Perhaps they don't want to be taken for unawares,
so the
whereby
voting
feed voters, because we saw that during the presidential election in one of the polling units in FCT where some of the result materials was found to be feed by one of the ad hoc staff, and of course that generated some heated debate. So what are we having there? Are most of these INEC sensitive materials, are they complete? Because we had that cases, I think we even saw a video of it trending that went viral when the people were demanding for the result sheet.
Yes, of course, but I think the explanation that the poll officials offer is that the result sheets will be brought later. So let's give them benefit of that. Maybe if in the course of because normally the poll officials at the polling units, they collect the materials at registration areas, what is known as council ward, what is technically known as registration centers, RAC. So by the time they get it there, maybe in the case of by the time of sorting out. But another curious thing is that a presiding officer for a polling unit has to sign that I have collected all the materials before proceeding to the polling unit.
Exactly.
So no matter what is the case, since they say the result sheets on the wall, I think there is a polling unit to watch out for.
All right, now before we go for the other issues, because we have security, a situation whereby some critics said that the election is militarized. Just before we go there, I want to ask, have the candidates voted?
Well, the report we have so far is that the Labour Party candidate, Olumide Agbata, has voted. The PDP candidate is yet to vote as of, before I got into the studio.
But on the queue.
We have, he was on the queue. The APC candidate, Senator Monday Akwepolo, has voted. And some other, yes, that's the PDP candidate. Yes, he's yet to vote. As of the time we came, but he's on the queue, he's on the line. And he has complained about the slow process. And
but we have not seen the governor. Has the governor also voted?
The information we have is that he has also participated in the process. And so we expect that if things go as it were, most of the the big names, as it were, the key political actors will naturally get to vote. But the problem, has been some people complaining that it is slow, whereas some others saying it's a good process. For instance, Akpata has called for, after casting his vote, he called for, the INEC to ensure level playing field.
Okay.
So it reflects how he considers the process to be so far. It was not so harsh, for choice of a better word, about the whole process. All it has done is to call for, INEC to follow through with all their promises. Bimodal has boasted, that the PDP wouldn't get, a vote in his unit. Of course, that's political talk. He's expected to say that. When the outcome of the polls, like my guy here told me earlier, is that going by what he has said, that might be a place, of interest to watch out for. Whether the boast pays off eventually. Igodalo, like we said earlier, he's still, ranting and, worried about the process. Because if at this time he has not voted, he feels the time should be extended so that more people will be allowed to participate in the process and get.
But PDP has been expressing misgivings ever since that he did not refuse that is Obaseki, the governor of the state, refused to sign the peace accord. Does he have every cause or every reason to be worried, given the fact that the Edo State election ongoing has so many security in place?
Well, that is okay. I think I should backtrack a bit and really give some context as to why that unfortunate comment was made by the governor. And this is the challenge our electoral process has always faced: the antics of political actors and the way they make it difficult for institutions to actually function and do what they ought to do. In the build-up to this election, it has always shaped up to be one of that was going to be highly contentious and very intense.
Yes, it was.
Because of the history of the political actors. Most of them are, they know themselves.
They certainly do.
In such kind of instance, the toxic relationships they had, political relationships they had, from 2015, yes, where Obaseki came up as
left the ruling party, APC,
and then you saw this other, we saw the relationship with Shomole
that's why Godfather.
So it has already created an atmosphere of that was always going to lead to this caustic political engagements, and so it was not so strange in some sense that in the build up to this process now, we started seeing the use of counter allegations and allegations of use of police and other security outfits, the Edo security network, to hound political opponents. And so when that process got into play, we started seeing, in fact, it even led to a point where a police officer was killed. So it underscores how intense and how desperate the political actors became in the build up to this. And so when the time for the appeals court came, the governor may be feeling that the institution of state is working against him. And when I mean this, I mean the police, and so he feels, there is no point engaging in that peace pact, thing. Since, but I don't think that was a nice way to have approached it, because in doing that he has also created or intensified the tension around the election, which could have affected the way people come out to participate in the election. Because the whole point of this is to allow people also have a right to engage the electoral process. And so when political actors raise the tempo so much, the tendency is that you might limit the space and you have very few people make a decision on behalf of everybody. Because those are the implications. So that is why it was really worrisome that he made, and it was also, he was now trying to rationalize why he said it.
That. Anyway, we are still on the issue of security, because we have so many security, talking about police, NSCDC, even EFCC deployed to the state for this off-cycle election, which is one out of the two that is going to take place this year. I'm going to you now. How so far? How would you rate the security atmosphere in Edo State?
Well, the security atmosphere in Edo State so far, so good. Because we're yet to hear cases of ballot box snatching,
okay.
cases of disruption of the electoral process, cases of intimidation and violence generally so far.
Yes.
At least in the last 2 or 3 hours that the poll started. 4 hours. Because it's actually supposed to start by 8:30 and it's now 12, after 12. But then there is an issue of alleged vote buying that took place precisely at Ward 4 in Oredo local government area. And if we must take the security apparatus serious, or we must believe them, the last meeting of the Election Security Committee, co-chaired by the INEC chairman and the National Security Advisor, threaten or tell troublemakers to leave Edo before today, that they will be ruthlessly dealt with. And also learned there is a heavy presence of military there. That normally would have been cause of concern, but on the second thought, the Interagency Security Election Security Committee access comprises both the military, with police being the lead agency. And even as the Inspector General of Police disclosed, the highest number of people deployed for the security of the election are police personnel. Then we have a good number of other sister security agencies. When they talk about sister security agencies, it could be military, it could be the civil defense, and of course it could be the EFCC. I also heard that in Edo North, precisely around the voting areas of the former governor, Comrade Adam Toshomole, Senator now, there is also heavy presence of the EFCC. So far, in the last 4 hours that the polls have started, we're yet to have security issues. Maybe by the time voting, of course, voting has started. Maybe as it proceeds, maybe by 2:30 p.m. Of course, by 2:30 p.m. those who are already in the queue will automatically vote. We still vote no matter how long it takes. But we still have to monitor development and get back appropriately.
Now, let me just, and I think it's fundamental. We make this point because I think the voters, people of the Edo should be commended. Because in spite of the violent rhetorics from the political actors and the rain that has that started as in the early hours of today, they came out. They've made attempts to come out to engage the process. So I think it's quite commendable that the Edo people have taken their fate into their hands and have said, regardless of what these political actors are doing, they are going to engage the process and ensure that we express our rights and express our franchise. So I think it's something that is worth commending.
All right, thank you so much. Now, the issue of vote buying, are people facing the court?
Yes, they say there was an alleged and there was a dragging. In a video that has gone viral and we have watched it, but no person has been mentioned precisely. But they only know there was a chaos when that allegation came up.
But however, we've seen the instances of vote buying in most of our elections, and they are not prosecuted. At the end of the day, they are let go. What is happening to our Electoral Offences Commission that's been canvassed for repeatedly?
A number of even senior journalists, of course, senior journalists and senior legal practitioners have, worried on this matter. I think even the judge also, I've forgotten the judge's name, who also, advocated for a special court to address this. And even at some point, the INEC has even, as an institution, expressed how frustrated it is when it comes to,
trying election
matters in combination with the heavy burden of managing elections in Nigeria. So I think it is something that should be revisited as often as possible until we get that. We get special thoughts for that. But if these are things that can be prevented, I think the focus should be on how do we prevent vote buying and selling, or reduce, if you can, reduce to the barest minimum, so that it is easier to maybe prosecute eventually than just praying that okay, we have one big court again to handle things like this. What are those incentives that make vote buying and vote selling lucrative? So every stakeholder has to look inwards and say, okay, how do we stop this?
When people are not accepting these monies, they'll definitely stop.
But that's the thing. How do you tell somebody not to take money when he's poor? There's nothing in his pocket.
You can actually collect and not vote.
Exactly. But that in itself is not proper. So we have to de-incentivize that process so that you don't get people to be tempted to do it and just hope that okay, they won't do it if they are tempted. So that's the catch there.
And there's just a report that came in of the Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu complaining about the non-functionality of beavers in his voting unit in Azama Primary School, Unit 5, Ward 11, Azama, Isako West local government area of the state. So is this non-functioning of beavers? It's not just the slow. We talked about the slowness of it earlier on. But now we have the deputy governor complaining about non-functioning of beavers. What is happening here? Because beavers, by now, one would have expected that INEC would have put his hands together to have this election.
Okay.
I'm not going to fault for INEC, but beavers basically is a technology.
Yes.
Is that like your handset? Sometimes it gets to malfunction, but just like you said, you are very correct. By now, INEC should have been able to give Nigerians beavers that are 90% or 85%,
or 95 or
95%, yes, functional, or 95% okay, so that we don't have issues, because beavers have been test run for many years.
Yes, can we have the video of the Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu on the screen? Yes, you can continue.
So I think we cannot continue experimenting beavers up to this moment. So it's a wake-up call on INEC to look into this issue. Maybe, probably, of course, even if it is possible, we go for, because when we started using handsets, we have the Nokia, we have all those things, but today people are going for Apple products, they are going. So if all we need to get a credible election, I know the country is capable of it. So let's look for better quality of beavers, so that we stop every time we're having complaints. Because it was very optimistic this morning when beavers were, apart from the slowing this thing, at least there were reports that at least beavers was one of the issues characterizing this election. But coming from a deputy governor, a serving deputy governor, a former member of the House of Representatives who has been in the process of this thing, is quite call for concern.
Yes, we have the video of the deputy governor there complaining about the non-functional. But however, the deputy governor is also wearing a face cap, which is also a political campaign stuff of Kone. What do you see? And this against the electoral act.
I don't know what Kone means.
That was the campaign slant during the campaigns, meaning it has ended. It has ended, and yet he's putting it on.
That
is that not also?
In fact, that is not right. I don't think it is right. I don't think it is something that ought to have been done. Maybe, but it will be left to the commission to do something about it. But the question is, what would they do at this point? Because you are not supposed to go to the polling unit
to campaign. Yes,
you are not supposed to go in any form or manner. You're not supposed to go there and begin to sample or do subtle campaigns.
You see the crowd here, they appear disappointed and they will likely be disenfranchised. It's their right to start a physical responsibility in this crucial election. What's your comment or your impression on this situation?
Yeah, actually, we're talking to the INEC people and the supervisor especially, and she assured us that the Beavers work and that they have backup. So we've been waiting for the backup and we are still here. And maybe it's sabotage, I don't know, but every other place is calm, apart from and here is the major place. This is this polling unit that has the highest number. We can see the crowd that is here. So, but they have assured us that when the Beavers come, they will extend the time for voting. So that's why we have to calm them to say, calm down. This election, we must vote, they must vote, and you can see that we have to go and get a canopy for them to stay under shade. So I'm optimistic that they will fix it and bring, because the guy just came now and told us that they have an issue with that one, they want to get back. So we are waiting. How many voters are likely to be disenfranchised? I think over 2,000 voters.
You know, are you not taking this as sabotage?
Well, I don't want to be in a hurry to give it a name. Because you can see the lady was sweating and you can see she's making effort. So I want to believe that that effort is genuine. So that's why I don't want to give it a name. If every other area is working, then maybe it's the technology issue. So I don't want to give it a name, but they have assured us that and assured this crowd that when they fix it, they will extend the time for voting. And I think that is what normally happens when things like this happen.
What information are you getting from the government? They don't know.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We are all made up our mind not to have evil people, evil governor, wicked governor that doesn't have empathy. We are all made up our mind. So the election is about departing from evil doings to an era of empathy. That's what this election is all about. And when you can see the
Welcome back. Like I just said before we watched the video, we saw the Deputy Governor of the state, Philip Tribal, at his polling unit, lamenting the frustrations of the non-performance of Beavers in his ward. However, we also saw the Deputy Governor with that campaign slogan, the face cap he was wearing, of phone. You were going to say something. Is it not an infringement?
Okay. Ofonen, as you pointed out, is a campaign slogan.
Yes.
It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. A man of a standing of the deputy governor, a former member of House of Representatives, that is a lawmaker.
Yes.
We engage in that because, as INEC stated, when INEC released the last statement about the ending of campaign, which ended Thursday midnight.
Yes.
The next paragraph that comes, or the next restriction, was that on the day of election, political party candidates, their supporters, in which case Philip Schwabel is one of them, or maybe one of them,
yes,
should not, at least even if I can't quote INEC verbatim, I can't forget out, should not appear in attire suggesting campaign or carry any campaign materials with them to the polling unit on the day of election. Well, I just wish maybe INEC will do what they say, because on the whole,
we walk the talk.
such expression, yeah, we walk the talk, because on the whole, such prohibitions and sanctions to such actions are provided for in Section 96 of the Electoral Act 2022. So we still watch and see what INEC does on this issue.
Thank you so much. Well, viewers, we are taking a pause to look at other trending videos of what is happening right now as election Edo decides in this Guba election taking place right now in Edo State. Stay tuned.
You will see that both in rural communities and urban communities, when this may approach the way they react, you will think that I have come to do something new for them. That's why I have always argued that Nigerians are the easiest to govern. The people have not forgotten that in this community we were raising money, contributing to buy mushroom classrooms, and children were sitting on the floor screaming. And look at the schools many years later. I left government about 8 years ago. You can see these schools, and everywhere you go, you see this red roof. You don't forget the roads they pass. We build those roads, and we build them well. Like I used to say, to be rural, you need to be inferior. And we did standard roads in both rural and urban areas. And because they were standard roads, those roads are still there. And what even excites them more is that they compare those roads that I built more than 10, 12 years ago, 30 years ago when I was a governor, and they compare them to the one built by the current president and the current governor under 1 year, with one rainy season, they are washed up. So they now more than ever before understand that. You know, the local people that wherever you have kuta, that is nylon tie, they don't know that there is a difference between a well-designed, well-constructed road that was meant to really enhance the economic and social life of the people, compared to the one that is just done like make-believe, not with the intention to really work, and money is scattered away. So people can see over time. I was always appreciated anyway when I was governor, the second term election. Don't forget, I won 80/80 in the heart of Benin, because again people talk of ethnic issues, and those analysts often time are 100% off the mark. From this village, the people of Benin, the great Benin Kingdom, 77 wards. I not only won all the 18 local government areas, but all the 77 wards in Benin Kingdom, I won. Why? Because every community has something to show. They can point at what I did while I was in government. And many years later, when I go to those places, they tell me, since you left, we have not seen something new. And so that explains the affection, the bond between me and the people and the elderly. And whether people believe it or not, rural people, they may not speak the best of grammar, but they have sufficient native intelligence to distinguish between bad government and good government. And their definition of good government is providing those basic things. They are not asking any governor to create a long dining table to invite them to feast. Do the road so we can go to the farm, and when we are blessed with harvest, we can take the produce to the farm. Ensure that there are build good schools that will attract the children to go and remain in school. Employ teachers that will teach the children, so that although today condition may be hard for the average poor person in a village, but they hope that with the benefit of education, people like us from these villages rose to become governors. That also inspired them. But when they see that they have to contribute money to pay their teachers, because government is not employing teachers, and they have to call their well-to-do children to contribute money every month. Nobody needs to now compare that to when I was here. So I think that is the affection, and I'm very humble.
So what is your reaction to APC plans to advertise this election?
But when you ask this kind of question, I should ask you the question. You came here before me. through the TV, I realized that people were already voting. I was telling somebody through the TV, I saw my mother. That's how I really run. If my mother in the 90s can come here to vote, what the hell am I doing at home? So I have to rush here. You have seen the environment. Did you see anybody hiding anywhere sharing money? What is the vote by? What did they say? They say APC was planning. We are, like during the campaign, I was always telling them, when they hear a governor say he's a chief security officer, he's calling the police, he doesn't understand that, although because of the bias in the segment of the media, police are not to take orders from the government on criminal matters. Nothing the Police Act says a governor shall direct the police when to arrest. It is the police that defines what constitutes a crime. They are the one who receive reports about alleged crime activity and suspects, and they devise ways and means to arrest, to investigate, and when they are convinced, to prosecute. It's not the governor to give order. Why are you arresting somebody? And yet people take it as the governor says, as a governor, I give order, I'm a chief security officer. That doesn't mean that police will take order to define who should be arrested. And when, as a governor, order your watch, people carry AK-47, shot a policeman, he on duty, and died broad daylight at airport. The criminal ran to government house.
And suppress voters where we are strong. And so, but like I said earlier, keep watching it. But it's playing up too often. And the incidence is now not just happen chance again. It's not happen chance again. But we're watching, we're really watching. But I'm not very happy with what I'm saying. But I keep saying our guys should come out to vote. And I'm asking our guys to come out to vote. People should not feel intimidated. That's what the opposition wants. They want people to feel intimidated. They want people to be scared. There's nothing to be intimidated about. The good thing about this election is that the military presence is good. The soldiers are on top of their game. Where the police have slacked, the soldiers are on top of their game. So the soldiers give us confidence. I know that's what the military is about in any environment. The military stabilizes an environment and gives confidence. So where the policemen are playing their little games, the soldiers are there. So we're happy for that, We're really happy for that.
Back, we are Edo Decide 2024. Now I want to find out, because we had reports and allegations, or even rumors of withdrawals, penultimate today, Friday, exactly. So much so that we even have the Labour candidate, Buba candidate, Olumide Akpata, having to address the press on his purported withdrawal. Now I want to find out, will it affect the outcomes, because the news had already gone viral that he had stepped down, and not also forgetting the fact that the candidate of another party did step down. Will this have a way of affecting the outcomes at the end of the day?
Okay. Those were last minute antics, to dissuade supporters of one candidate, not to come out or to look in a different direction, of perhaps someone else they think shares the same, or they think can fill the shoes of their candidate since he has withdrawn. I think that perhaps was the intent.
Maybe trying to get his electorate.
Yeah, exactly, to take his voters away from him. But so far, I don't think that has really played because yes, it went viral, but there was also a quick, response from Olumide as of yesterday. But it's not just about what happened to Akpata. It also happened to the APC Bimodal. In the course of yesterday, there was a fake a court order that emerged that he has been disqualified or something.
Funny enough, from a magistrate court.
Exactly. You can imagine.
So, but this issue of forum shopping, as you may call it, I think we really have to give it to the SYCJN Mohammed, who took care of that. Remember, some Emmy judges were actually sanctioned over this, because a politician will file case here, go to Kaduna, far away from his jurisdiction, to file counter claims and get an ex parte motion. Do you think the AGF again or CJN has to look into this?
Absolutely. It's what's being addressed. It's unfortunate that we still saw that play out, quite recently, not on this election issue. But in this particular instance, it's more of a case of a fake, concocted thing that somebody just put out there, and it didn't emanate from the courts at all, But perhaps it is because of this seeming odd reoccurrence of multiple forum shopping that would encourage people to go and do this kind of act that they have done, that they did yesterday with regards to the APC guy. But so far I don't think those things actually worked out, because people have already made up their mind as to who they were doing. And as of the time that information, those information came out on these two candidates.
But it could anyway, if I may intervene on that, because you can still have undecided voters, and at the time they could just say, okay, let me go for this person.
But there was also a counter to what those guys did. So now, maybe the question would be, who gets to what faster?
Affect the outcomes.
Yes and no. Yes, because there may be some gullible. Sorry,
that's why
anyway,
also called
there may be some gullible supporters, especially those who depend on opinion leaders to give them information. Maybe deep there in the hinterland, somebody will just, have you not heard? This man has been disqualified. He has no way to substantiate. But for the masses,
this man has stepped down.
But for the audience, the educated ones, those who could read and write, that the candidates involved or their parties, in the case of APC, acted quickly, and in that process the rumor was dispelled. Maybe in the case of APC, they released a statement as fast as possible, telling the general public to disregard that, calling it fake news as one of the strategies by some other political opponent, just to confuse the supporters of the parties, and urge the people of Edo to disregard that in totality, that their candidate, Senator Monday, was still on the ballot and was still, whatever the outcome will be determined there. I don't want to go into deep as if I'm campaigning for any of them, but that was what APC came out to clarify.
All right. Now we are still on to Edo Decide. I want to find out the politics of Godfatherism syndrome. We saw quite, a monumental part of it during the last election, where the slogan emerged, "Edo not be Lagos." What is going to play out this time around? And the same APC, when campaigning, said, "Look, we all know what happened during the other time, that you rejected Godfatherism, and now the person who said you should reject Godfatherism now also wants to become the Godfather." So how is this going to play out now as Edo Decide? It's quite exciting.
It is.
Will Godfatherism win at the end of the day?
Well, as it stands now, it's a 3-horse race.
Yes, it is.
And if I have to be as practical as I think I can be, I think the contest is really between APC
and PDP.
And if you look at the key actors in these two major parties, I'm not taking anything away from the Labour Party, but if you look at the key actors in these two major parties, the PDP and APC,
from Edo Central,
you will notice, even beyond the candidates, looking beyond the candidates now, you will see that the two backers of these candidates,
the Godfathers, one are big Godfathers.
Yes, so they have a long history in that sense. One was the Godfather,
and the one was an
estranged godson, and then they clashed at some point, and they went their separate way, and now they are coming to do what some might call the battle royale of sorts. So it's and I think that is perhaps why this election has been so intense.
It is.
It has been so intense, perhaps for that reason. Whether
they met before, now they are meeting. An aspiring Godfather is meeting with an estranged Godfather.
It's the battle of, in some sense, it's the battle of the Godfathers. And perhaps they expect the Edo people
to decide who
to see
they want.
through it and make a choice as to who they think the better of the candidates. Because at the end of the day, politicians will be politicians. They will fight for power, but if the people that they are seeking their votes for do not put them on their toes, it might just amount to another, circle of
James,
power.
now do you see this as an enthronement of a godfather or demystification of another?
I think a little bit of history will suffice.
Yes.
The APC from last year or in the last 2 years or in the last 4 years, all what the party has been saying is we get back our states. We get back our states. Because Edo, in the days of Oshomole under ACN and in the twilight of his administration in APC, we can say was an APC state for 12 years because of Baseki in his first term was also
APC.
in APC. So APC think Edo State belongs to it. It thinks it's Edo and Edo is APC. And PDP too was in charge of Edo at a point before Oshomole took over. Yes.
Yes, PDP.
99, I think up to 2007 thereabouts.
Yes, 2007.
So for 8 years.
And
some. Yes. So it's a power of PDP reclaimed Edo in 2020. And we want to return it.
And PPC
APC
lost it because of power tussle.
Yes, APC lost it in December 2020 and he wants to reclaim it. So it's a battle for returnership. It's a battle for returnership. PDP want to return it. APC want to reclaim it. And all of them have put their arsenal to work. Because if you look at especially the APC, because there are insinuations that Senator Monday is a Villa candidate. White is running mate.
Yes, we saw what happened.
Yes,
we threw up to his emergency.
So that battle is a serious battle for returnership and battle for reclaim.
And there's even a broader perspective to it. Because the current president today was a major campaign topic in the Edo Lagos.
Yes.
So it broadens the intrigue.
Yes.
The intrigues playing out. Because there are speculations too that, and this is just speculation, that the presidency might want to pay back.
Yes.
The ridicule that the current president was subjected to the last time. So these are, peculiarities about these elections that are quite interesting. But I think the major concern for me is that in the course of this whole process, we never really got to hear them talk about issues. And that is really worrisome.
It is.
It is very, very worrisome. There's so much about the states and the potentials of Edo State that was not brought to the fore. We didn't get to hear about what the governors or the candidates intend to do. Yes, there was a release of a blueprint by APC said a few things, the usuals of I will do this, I will do that, but they never really got to tell us how, because the place was so muddied up with you are arresting my people, you are not arresting my people, you are, so
this one knows how to speak English, he knows how to communicate well, this one does not know how to communicate well.
So it didn't really give people enough chance to evaluate the intellectual capacity of the candidates or examine their plans and actions.
Yes.
And that is
what they have for
exactly, and that is what
they are bringing in,
and even for international partners. Because it's not just about Edo now. Edo is a state that has a lot of natural resource.
I saw a trending video, and even a trending video of even the whites talking about the great war. They're supposed to be in Guinness Book of Record, and they actually said that even the Edos, they don't know this, that they're supposed to, that they had the biggest, the highest and longest war that encircled Benin in the 80s.
The empire.
It was the British that came and when they invaded the Benin. And I was enthralled.
So
just like what you said, I'm bringing that in because you said Benin, they don't even know this, they don't know their potentials.
These are really disturbing trends. I would hope that maybe.
So when are we going to begin
have to start
hearing issue-based campaigns from candidates?
Well, as for this election,
it's already done because we have the next one coming up in London.
No, but it comes down to because you can't force a politician to. I'm not sure there's a guideline from anybody insisting that you must not talk about this or you must not talk about that outside things that are inciting. You know. So it comes down to a political consensus that has to be reached at some point. I don't know by who or by how and how that's going to be possible. So that people begin to know.
It should depend on the electorate, don't you think?
Absolutely. The electorate will always know what to do. Is expected to know what to do. You know, to see through narratives that are not edifying or helpful anyway. But again, that's the problem. If you saturate the space with nuisance, let me use that word, or trivialities, or with hateful rhetoric, what do you leave the electorate to do? What information would they do with what you put out? That's the concern. So I think it's something the political class needs to sit back and really reflect and maybe get more input from the civil society to put pressure on political parties to ensure, you know, that they play down negative and unnecessary rhetorics that cloud, you know, this place with nonsense and needless conversation.
No, all they focus on issues. In fact, all they do, they leave the electorates with a choice of what Pope Francis say about the case of Donald Trump and Harris, the lesser and the higher evil. Yes, the lesser of the two evils. So that is a situation where electorates in the country here are left with, because the people go out, the campaign of calumny, campaign of character assassination. You know, issues are almost, we're all here in this country. We know that there is we can't say precisely which election was issue based. They are about the characters, they are about what, going historical back and forth. So Nigerians, as always, even those in Benin, after those people have characterized themselves, all the names they call themselves, I think the people of Benin, the people of Edo are left with the choice of choosing which evil is lesser as compared to the two evils, because they both painted themselves evil.
All right, thank you so much. It's on this note we've come to the first segment of this show. Don't forget, when we come back, we are going to be giving you on-the-spot assessment of the voting as it commences in Edo State. Edo decides. My name is Winifred, your host on the program, and of course I had in company leadership analyst, group political editor, and National Assembly correspondent. Don't go away. Stay tuned. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.